And we're live.
Yeah, thank you. I wish you knew that. I wish you knew the notes to my song. So we'll do that. We'll do that someday down in the future. Accessibility ain't just for those with disabilities. Makes the world better for everyone, online as well as in person. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am the blind blogger Maxwell Ivy, and this is the Accessibility Advantage, where I am hoping to advocate for more accessibility for and inclusion of people with disabilities through emphasizing the positive benefits of inclusion. And you can find me at theaccessibilityadvantage.com. You can send me an email to Maxwell at theaccessibilityadvantage.com, where I'm available as an expert on accessibility to write, speak, consult, or podcast. So I hope y'all will check me out over there. So as for me, as a blind podcast host, I'm going to do my audio description now. So I am a 59-year-old Caucasian male with medium length brown hair that's got more gray and white in it now than brown these days. Greenish brown eyes. I'm wearing a very light white / gray / light blue shirt because nobody knows what color it really is, and a black tie. I'm sitting here in my bedroom. I have retinitis pigmentosa, or RP. I'm almost totally blind from that. And my pronouns are he and him. And so today, I'm very blessed to get to welcome a guy to my podcast. I've known him since 2019 when we met for the first time at PodFest in Orlando. He's a wonderful friend and mentor. He is the founder of Podmatch, that being Alex Sanfilippo. And what it does is connecting podcast hosts and guests so that they can find their ideal match using artificial intelligence, like a dating app for podcasters. But the real true mission, the heart of Alex's business, is so that podcasters can reach more people, raise more money, and change more lives. And you can find him at podmatch.com. So Alex, my friend, welcome to the show.
Maxwell, thank you so much for having me. Thanks for the warm introduction and for letting me play the ukulele for a second. That is definitely the first time. I think I've done 700 different podcasts as a guest, and that is the first time I've ever busted out a ukulele. So thanks for that. That was pretty cool.
Well, it was a good mix, or intersection of things both of us wanted. I needed a way to know that I was live on StreamYard, and I've decided I'm going to play around with it, have fun with it, and I happen to know that you play the uke, so I thought, well, maybe he'll want to do that. And so here we are. Now, who knows what the next guest will want to do on the intro to let me know I'm live. We'll find out as we go along. Just no truck horns, y'all. No truck horns.
I hopefully I didn't just set a bad trend here. We'll see what happens.
No, I think you set a good trend because your music was soft and melodic. I think you set a good trend. So
thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Yeah. So first, I think people ought to hear a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey that, of course, started when you were a very young man. And then from there, we'll talk about how your life in business, both as an entrepreneur and working in the corporate world, led you to this understanding of the customer focus to being a business owner.
Yeah, I'll go back to that beginning. I started at 10 years old is how old I think, Maxwell, I think that was the age. It gets a little blurry after a while, but I'm pretty sure I was 10. And I started just selling used golf balls. Across the street from my neighborhood, there was a golf course, and all of our parents always said, don't play on the golf course. So all the kids naturally ran out to the golf course. That's where we all played. And right, yeah. And one day I found a golf ball out there, and a golfer happened to be riding by in a cart, and he says, hey, kid, what does that golf ball say on it? I said, Titleist Pro V1. He goes, I'll give you $3 for it. Well, back at that point, $3 I was like, man, that's candy and a toy. Like, I'm doing really good. That was one golf ball, and a light bulb went off. And I'd say, Maxwell, that was for me maybe the first time something like that happened, because as a kid, I was kind of like a unique kid because I wasn't really great at sports. I wasn't good at video games, and I wasn't good at school or music, even though I used the ukulele a few minutes ago, right? Like, there just weren't things I was naturally good at, but I immediately found my sweet spot, which was business. So I got a bunch of other kids together in the neighborhood. Some of them were my brothers even. We started digging through all the lakes, finding more golf balls, and selling them on Saturday mornings. And that was kind of like my first unofficial business. We never paid Uncle Sam. That's why I say unofficial business. But it was a really fun thing and kind of gave me an introduction to kind of low-key how business works. And so that was sort of the very first thing I did.
Right. Well, it's a great example. You you basically, instead of just having you doing the business, you roped a bunch of other people into. You scaled up back before you probably knew what scaling up was.
Oh yeah, I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew I needed help, and all the kids were looking forward to making a few bucks, so it made it a lot of fun.
Cool. So, and then where did life go from the entrepreneurial stuff?
Yeah, I went into my teen years and I started selling things on eBay. I really liked computers. That kind of gave me an introduction to doing some real estate investing type of stuff and a real estate technology startup. All of that crashed and burned when I turned. I don't remember the age, but it was 2008. So 2008, all the things I kind of worked to build. That was my first real business, was doing that technology startup, which created virtual tours of homes, and also investing in real estate. Like that stuff just totally was destroyed when the market collapsed the way it did. And that was sort of my first awakening as an entrepreneur, because when I was selling golf balls, flipping stuff on eBay, doing other little things like that, doing the real estate stuff, like everything worked really well. And I feel like I never had like a real failure until that point. And that was an awakening that I really needed. So at that point is actually when I entered corporate. So I left entrepreneurship and became what's now been coined a term called intrapreneurship, which just basically means being an entrepreneur inside of an organization. Because I still kind of operated the way that I operate, used the same parts of my brain. I just did it under the covering, the umbrella of a corporate business. It was like a corporate America 9 to 5 type of job. But when I got started, Maxwell, I was I was literally just working part time. It was a part time receiving clerk position, which just meant I broke down people boxes and I took out people's trash. And that was like, that's what I did. And so it was kind of like, for me, again, it was like a real awakening. That was the rock bottom point of my life, was shifting from being what I consider to be a very successful entrepreneur for my age, to being really in debt, to having only a part-time job that seemed as it would not go anywhere, to show for. That was really kind of how I felt. And that was, again, the rock bottom point in my life, but now the moments that I'm most grateful and thankful for.
Well, that's good, and I'm assuming you continued to progress within the corporate world, because I know it's only been like in the last 6 8 years that you went back out into the entrepreneur world full time.
Yeah, I did 15 years in corporate, and I learned a lot. My last few years there, especially, were really good years, and I like to mention that because I didn't leave corporate out of a place of desperation, spite, feeling like I needed to leave. I left on really good terms. I'm a firm believer that the way we end one season is the way we begin the next. So for me, like I knew I wanted to leave it when it was good, right? And so over that 15-year period, I went from that part-time guy to ultimately leading, before I left, leading my way up to the C-suite level of the company. It was a publicly traded multi-billion-dollar organization. I was really grateful to be part of it. I can remember sitting one of the first times, like in the boardroom, and I was by a long shot the youngest guy there. I was the only one, maybe with hair that wasn't gray at least. So in my 20s, sitting at a table that no one else my age at that company at least had ever gotten the opportunity to be part of. And for that, it was something I was, again, very grateful for. And I really loved my time in corporate. I cried the day I left, but on December 7th, 2020 is when I started pursuing Podmatch full time. It had been live for about 6 months, but it was time to make a decision. And that's kind of what, again, led me from going into corporate to leaving corporate as well.
Right. And I personally feel like I have been blessed, because we have known each other from before Podmatch even existed officially, and we've been friends. And you've been a great mentor and help to me as an entrepreneur in my own small scale. So what I want to know is, this episode is about how having a customer focused business mindset led to understanding the value of accessibility. So, at what point during this part of your life do you come to this understanding that putting the focus totally on the customers, the clients, the market is the way to go as far as being successful long term?
You know, I guess being frustrated is maybe the first way. The best example I can give is, I don't know if you've ever tried to contact anyone at Google or work with anyone at Google, and I'm not here to talk bad about companies or anything like that, so I don't want to make it sound that way. But I'll just give you everyone like a real example. Google has been billing me for a product that I don't use, don't have access to, and have no way to cancel for more than 5 years now. And they have told me that if you cancel it, you find any way to cancel it, we will cancel everything you have with Google. And they have openly told me that. They're like, so you're going to pay for that for as long as you are paying for anything Google that you want to use. That type of situation, again, I'm not trying to talk about Google. That could be any of the major companies out there. I just realized that we live in a world where people are angry online. They're frustrated online. The experience is more of the same. It's going to be somebody mistreating you, basically treating you like a number, not like a person. And so the second I got into this thing, I was like, you know what? I don't want that to be the standard that I set or the standard that I just abide by, because that's what you do when you run a software company. And that's what all the gurus, all the coaches in the space told me. And so I actually, from day one, opted out of having a coach in software. I'm a guy who loves coaching, but everyone I talked to said the same thing. Like, do not care too much about people. You got to care more about the numbers. You care about the numbers will take care of the people. And that's just not true. That is not true anywhere. And there's almost no companies that do that. But I knew from day one, Maxwell, that I wanted to do something different. I wanted to actually care about people. And I knew there had to be some sort of way that humans can be taken care of, even when it's a software company. And so for me, it all began just from day one, knowing that, hey, we're going to do something different. And I think that that's what the world needs.
Right. So what I'm hearing is what happened with you is what happens with a lot of people who start their own firms. It started with solving a personal problem or a personal frustration, and it led to having a business along those same lines. And in this case, it wasn't necessarily the business, but it was the frustration. And you decided, I'm not going to be that kind of person, that kind of business owner, because there's no reason for it. And you were able to see through your own ability to reason that it's not the way to be successful long term. So I applaud you for that. And I hope that more entrepreneurs, especially in the tech space, will start to agree with you, because I spend a lot of my time in the tech space, as you know. So I'm wishing that more and more companies would come to the idea that accessibility is important to them, and having more customer focused entrepreneurs would definitely do that. I know that you didn't have a coach in tech, but it's great that you have coached people, and that while you don't do it professionally, you continue to advise and mentor people. So I feel like your frustration and the way you've approached it, trying to be a better entrepreneur, is affecting a lot of the other people out here in this space.
Yeah, I'm really glad to hear that. And that's, listen, I don't need to be an influencer. I don't need to be well known. Like, I don't do any of this for that reason. But I do always hope that another founder will see the way we're running things and want to run it the same way. And the reality is, I guess the sad reality is, I'm going to make less money doing it this way. I'm going to spend more time on it doing it this way. But I can tell you one thing's for sure: I sleep a lot better than most people in my shoes. There's a lot less stress that goes into it, because I have never once gone to bed worrying that something's going to come back to me because I did something unethical or I treated somebody wrong. Like, sure, I'm not always perfect. I'm not trying to say I am, but at the end of the day, I've never intentionally gone out of my way to do something wrong to make an extra buck. And I just think that that's rare. And whenever I meet, especially when I meet people in person, like, why are you so happy? Like, you're a software person. Like, it's terrible work, like it's super hard work. You have a 0% chance of ever making it. Like, why are you so happy about it? It's because I know I'm doing well by serving people. And actually, like, we set up a group of core values on Podmatch. Number one is human to human. And that's just us. We're humans. We take care of humans. And the second one is seeking to serve. We're here to serve. I'll tell you what, when you serve others, you seem to sleep a lot better at night than when you're just trying to serve yourself.
Right. Now, I'm going to disagree with you. And I hate disagreeing with
Uh-oh.
guests, especially one who's obviously much more successful than I have been or ever will be.
I wouldn't say all that, but I'm
But
happy to
let's
have a
see.
healthy disagreement.
But I will disagree with you on one point, and that is that as I have observed what goes on in the world, I find that one of the best ways to be that you talk about how trying to get that next person, all that extra business, is going to cause you to make less money. I disagree, because you spend a lot less time and effort chasing people that won't be your customers long term. I feel like the way you attract and maintain and build relationships with people is a way that's going to result in a multiplier effect that can't be quantified, which is the problem for most other entrepreneurs.
I guess that's the key, is it can't be quantified. Those were some key words there, Maxwell. I think that's probably the problem. Like, I'll never know the impact I'm having, and that is okay. But yeah, I'm not even going to disagree with you. I think that you're correct on this, and I think that my thinking might be a little bit flawed. So I thank you for expanding my mindset on that a little bit. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. You've just, added another another cherry to my Sunday of being here today. But as I was trying to make sense of my thoughts there, I was thinking about how, as an example, in the human relation in the HR field, it costs more money to constantly have to recruit new labor.
Right.
But to maintain your existing workforce is one of the best ways to improve the bottom line. I hear that from enough entrepreneurs and business people that it must be true. So that's kind of what I was thinking about along the lines with Podmatch. That you actually every so often have to go through and review some of the accounts to make sure that the people who are using your platform are following along with your vision for the platform.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone's ever brought this up, so thank you for bringing this up, Maxwell. Yeah, we have a purge feature within Podmatch. I say feature. On the back end, it automatically does this, but it started off as a manual process. And it's something that we noticed about a year and a half into the platform is a lot of people were creating accounts and then they were just inactive. They weren't using them. And so when someone like me or Maxwell were messaging them, so let's say we're both podcast hosts, we want them to be on our podcast or messaging as guests, we just never hear back. And we saw a lot of that. And so I kind of did seek out some wise counsel. I wanted to see what other people said you do. And they said, that's just part of software. That's how it works, right? There's a billion inactive accounts on Facebook, and that's just how it is, right? And I was like, again, going back to the whole idea, I'm like, wait a minute, that's not okay, because the people that are actively using it, that's a bad experience, and we don't want to create a bad experience for people. So we created this purge feature where basically we now look to see, and it's all automated. So when I say we look, it's not manually happening, but automatically we can see who's not using the platform. Even if they're paying for it, we're able to pause and even remove their account. Of course, we reach out to them automatically and let them know. If we don't hear back or they say it's okay, we immediately stop their billing, and then we'll just remove their account or pause their account based off of where they're at. In addition to that, the other thing that we do, and this was a bit more of a manual process, but if there's feedback getting left about members that are maybe being rude, disrespectful, not showing up, which we do hear some of that, unfortunately, we add that to a list. And again, automatically, it kind of tells us, hey, like this person's had a lot of bad feedback, or they didn't show up to the last 10 interviews. And those individuals, same thing. We typically refund them and then remove their account. Of course, with a little bit of interaction to make sure that like there's not a misunderstanding or anything like that. But the whole idea is our platform will be smaller because of this. I should say that real quick. Our platform will be smaller because of this, but we're focused on quality over quantity. I don't care to have the biggest software as a service, the biggest platform in the world, the biggest community. What I want is a community that's thriving with like-minded people that support and take care of each other, that are active, that are here. And so, yeah, we built out this feature, and every month people are getting removed from the platform. So we see a very slow grow with Podmatch, but it's a very, very healthy growth that we see.
Right. And it's the kind of healthy growth that will sustain you through decades instead of just years. So
that's right. Yeah.
I don't know what made me bring that out. It just occurred to me and I had to say it. So I'm glad that worked out for both of us. And just to remind y'all, I'm speaking with Alex Sanfilippo, the founder of Podmatch. And the mission of his platform is to help podcasters reach more people, make more money, and change more lives. You can find him at podmatch.com. So I think now everybody understands just how your customer-focused approach leads into everything you do on the platform. So let's talk about then how that gets us to accessibility, and what are some of the benefits that y'all have received from that over time.
Yeah, so I'll just tell the whole story here, and this was a tough decision. I don't want to make it sound like it wasn't. But when I realized what accessibility was, thank you, by the way, Maxwell, I was like, accessibility. Somebody brought it up. I'm like, Maxwell, what is accessibility? Can you help me? And this is before the days of AI even. So I had nowhere to go. So Maxwell was kind enough to get on a call with me, or maybe just email. However, we basically, you explained it to me. I was like, okay, I get it now. But basically what I realized is there's a lot of people who love podcasters or love podcasting as a guest and as a host that are visually challenged. Think about it. It's a beautiful medium. Like it being mostly audio, what a great medium for anybody to consume. Even if you can't see or you struggle with that, it's a great platform. So why not be a host like Maxwell? Be a host, a guest that comes on podcasts that maybe again has some visual challenges. And I realized that when they were trying to join Podmatch, they couldn't. And so at first we just kind of did our best to help along the way. Like, okay, let's help them out. But I realized from having conversations with a number of individuals, they didn't want to be helped. not that they didn't want to be helped. They wanted to be able to do it. They wanted to use the platform like everybody else. And I remember sitting down with my team. It was me, Alicia, and Jesse, and we're the three co-founders. I sat down and I was like, "Hey, listen, seeking to serve, human to human, these being our top core values, we're not in alignment with this if we're not taking care of this segment of people." And so we looked at it and we looked at the percentages, and there was maybe 20 or some odd people in that boat, and there was 30 or 40,000 of everyone else. And we looked at, like, of course, we're a company, so we're gonna look at the cost assessment, how much time it was gonna take us. And we basically realized, and I won't give the exact numbers here, just I don't know if the team would appreciate that, but we knew it was gonna take us 9 months and cost us into six figures to be able to do this, to be able to make it fully accessible the way we wanted to. It was a full rebuild of certain elements of the platform. We sat down and we actually decided to do it. And man, I can't tell you how much hate I got for doing that, for making that decision, because we did go public with that decision to do that. I had people telling me how stupid I was, how this is going to be the death of our company. It's stupid to try to care about everybody, like all these things. And some people even being really well-known people in the software as a service space, so SaaS, which is what our business is. People literally be like, "Hey, this is a really stupid idea. Like, someone else can take care of those people. That's not your duty to do that." But I couldn't sleep at night. Because I knew that we were doing something that was out of alignment with who we said we were and how we wanted to show up to serve. So we decided to do it. And that's actually when we hired Maxwell, right here. So thank you again. Maxwell came on as our accessibility advisor. Still this day is our paid accessibility advisor, because we let out updates all the time, which means stuff breaks all the time. But this is our person who tells us what to fix and how to fix it. And we took a lot of time to do that again. And it was a really good decision. I know that we did well by those individuals. And because of that, it just kept us in alignment. And I'm a firm believer that what you do for one is what you do for all. If I'm not taking care of one person, then, like, do I really have the heart that I claim to have? This brought us back into alignment.
Right. And I want to just explain a little bit of the process from my side of this, because obviously I did not know you were getting that much hate. And I'm surprised I didn't feel it, but sometimes I just get my head down doing the work and I don't hear a lot of what might be considered noise, unless it's your business that you're hearing it about. But one of the things that I feel like more people need to understand from the experience I've had with Alex is that they did not improve accessibility overnight. In fact, you mentioned it was a year and a half process, but in the beginning there were a lot of things that could not be fixed. They were beyond the ability, the time, the money to. And so some things you continued to do for people and let them know that you were working on improving accessibility. Other things you offered them an explanation as to how to work around the accessibility challenge in the short term, and again, letting them know that you were working on it. And the other thing is as you make updates, you do ask for input as far as what the updates are meaning and how to fix them. And one of my favorite emails I've gotten from either you, Alicia, or Jesse was one I got just this week. I had found a problem where for some reason a section of the messaging field was announcing itself multiple times. It was very annoying. And so I mentioned Jesse, I recorded a video to show him what was going on. And he said, "That is very annoying. We'll move it to near the top of the list to fix it." And here's what the part of the email I loved. He wrote back to me. He said, "Okay, Max, we've addressed it. I understand that's annoying." He said, "Now I want you to look at this and make sure we didn't break something else while we were trying to fix this."
Yeah, that's a very Jesse thing to say. So being the software side of it, he's the developer, and yeah, for sure, because he's like, if I fix something, I usually break something in the process. So, and that's the thing. Like we like to be, we call it crazy agile, which is like our last of our core values, which is we innovate quick. So you brought that problem, within 24 hours, we do our best to at least start to address it, to figure out, okay, like what's a solution for this? And granted, the entire accessibility project, we've been working on it for a long time together now, Maxwell. And like it evolves, it changes. It's tough work. And by the way, I didn't include you in any of the hate that I was getting because it was private, and I just didn't think that burden needed to be there. We're working on the solution. Sometimes the best thing to do when you're working on a solution, this is just good business advice. When you're working on a solution, try to try to cut out all the noise, right? The stuff that doesn't matter. You keep on going for the prize that you see for you, because it's not the same prize everyone else is after.
That is a good point. I mean, that's why they break. That's why they break projects up into teams and teams up into assignments.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said.
So I appreciate that. I just, I have enough genuine care for you that I would have been happy to take some of that if you'd have needed me to. So
I know, but hey, listen, we had to get moving right away. And listen, it was a long project, but we actually made better software as a result. Because what I realize is now in today's world, with the way that software and code is developed, that if it's not accessible, it actually probably means it's not good code. Because of the way that and you know more about this than I do, Maxwell, but I just want to share this, like, as a software founder, I'm realizing now, like, our code is so clean, so it's becoming very easy to make it accessible, because there's not a lot of explaining that needs to happen anymore, because it's getting really good. But when someone's like, oh, I can't do the accessibility thing, it probably means they don't have good code. Their code is probably real messy, which means that things are going to break at some point. As little things in the world update and change, they're going to start to have serious problems. So to me, not accessible in today's world now is a total red flag. And this is now a byproduct. Like, we never thought that'd be a thing, but now I'm realizing, like, oh, we were just ahead of the curve with this stuff. And again, to your guidance, Maxwell, thank you for that.
well, I appreciate it. I don't want this to turn into a commercial for Max, but or for
Everyone hire Maxwell.
I'm not. I'm not happy. I'm totally fine it being a commercial for Podmatch, but you made a very important point there, and that is that when we improve accessibility, we improve things for everybody else, and the same goes for code. When you improve accessibility, you create better, cleaner code, and I feel like that's why. And I don't know this for sure. This is a guess. Is why I have this opinion that smaller companies like yours are able to take on accessibility in a way that larger companies with deeper pockets can't or won't, because they've got more older, horrible, crappy code that they will have to fix in order to become accessible.
Yeah, I've been pondering this same thing, and I mean, everyone's got to change at some point, especially, like, I mean, think about how fast computers move. It's why Apple and Samsung, it's why they let out new phones every year. Like, they're advancing. It's not just so that people will buy it, although that usually happens, but it's because they've improved something. And so I think it's odd that online we assume that what we have today is going to last forever. There's a term that I like to use, which is what got you to where you are today won't get you to where you want to go tomorrow. You have to be willing to innovate. You have to be willing to change. And us taking on accessibility, again, took care of a few people on our platform. And that is why we did it through and through. I didn't know there was going to be any other benefit. But now our website is at least 4 times as fast. And it works so much better, even from an SEO standpoint. Like, everything is just better positioned. And at some point, we'll do another big upgrade like that. But the reality is, once again, I think it all has to come from your heart of, like, hey, I want to take care of the right people. I want to take care of the people I'm trying to serve.
Right. So I want to follow up on this by letting you talk about your advisory board, because in that case, it's an extension of your values. It's also an extension of accessibility, because you went beyond just digital accessibility for the visually impaired. You now have an advisor on emotional neurodevelopmental disabilities. You have people who are expert in identity as well as environmentalism, who are advising you on improving those other aspects of Podmatch and staying in line with your values.
Yeah. Again, Maxwell, you're asking me stuff that no one's ever, like, asked about. So I don't know. I just appreciate you, man. Thanks for being a good friend, and thanks for caring.
It's who I am. It's who my dad taught me to be. That's all. So I can't take credit for it at all. So
a little bit. Okay, so our advisory board, I'm really excited about this. We actually launched this year. And so for me, I'm personally, and Maxwell, you know this, I'm big on accountability. Like, accountability is big for me personally, and from a company standpoint, as we've grown a lot, I still think that there is now there's some things that companies that grow to a certain size, they need to have in place. And for me, an advisory board was one of those, mainly for accountability. I want someone in my corner in key areas to make sure that Alex is not compromising who he says he is, because he's seeing dollars now, right? I've seen money destroy far too many people. I've seen influence ruin too many people to think that I'm immune to it by any means. And so I was like, I want an advisory board to keep us honest. So number one on that board, I'll go through them real quick. Is that okay, Maxwell, if I go through
Oh,
them?
I wouldn't have asked the question if I didn't want you to go through them,
Okay,
brother.
cool.
So,
I'm just making sure you're not like, uh-oh, this
and,
dude's rambling now.
yeah, and you're more than welcome to call me Max. We've known each other for 5 years now, so.
Okay. So listen, for everyone who's here now who's heard me saying Maxwell, I call this guy Max, but you introduce yourself as Maxwell. So I wanted to honor the platform, but you know what, Max, I'm all in now. So, all right. So first off, Maxwell Ivy on there, accessibility advisor. He makes sure that just as we're growing doesn't mean we're taking shortcuts. Like the other day when the message page was introducing itself multiple times, announcing itself multiple times, he told us that right away. We pay him to tell us that. And also we want to know. And so if I was like, hey, we can't really work on that right now, he knows as a board member that, hey, that's a red flag, Alex. Like that is not supposed to happen. He'll bring that straight to my attention. So if it's me, someone on the team, however that's happening, he brings it right up. And then the next person we have is, I'll go through them quick, but Rebecca.
Yeah, drop their names. Make sure people know who these people are, because I know just how important they are to you, Alex.
Yeah. Okay. Rebecca Tijian. Prejean. Sorry, my bad. I got them mixed up with somebody else. She is our neurodiversity advisor. And so what she does is she goes through the website for someone who perhaps has ADHD, is OCD, has a couple of these different types of things, or on the spectrum in some way, and basically looks through the website with the lens of, would this trigger somebody? Would it cause them to skip it? Would they be able to see this? And basically advising on our font sizes, colors, the entire flow of everything. And she's absolutely brilliant. She's very smart and has helped us a lot. So same thing. If we say, hey, we want to make sure this is doing good, we release a new page that is not up to code that she thinks that we need to be at, then she's supposed to reach out to us. Same thing. And that's really important because we are finding this world, there's a lot more people that have really great stories. They have not felt welcomed before. We want to make sure that they feel welcome the second they reach Podmatch's website. Next up is Vinny Potostivo, focuses on diversity. Diversity, really important to us. We want to make sure that we're inclusive with all people from all backgrounds. And so he's identifying areas where we perhaps are not fully represented the way we'd like to be, with certain beliefs, nationalities, races, anything like that, and basically looking for those gaps. And Vinny's basically like, hey, we need to reach out to this segment, because we don't really pick who joins Podmatch, right? But we do pick who we market to. So we want to make sure that if we're seeing a gap, we are marketing to the right people. So Vinny helps advise on that. Junaid Ahmed, he's big on sustainability. Actually, it's funny. He got into podcasting. He's like over 1,000 episodes on his show now. He got into podcasting because he was a beekeeper and he wanted to like talk about that. Dude loves outdoors. He's a cyclist, just really enjoys all that. And so he understands the world of sustainability really, really well. And so he wants to make sure that we're also operating in a sustainable way, because something I find a lot of software companies do, Max, is they throw money at problems instead of making cleaner software. If we just pay for more hosting, then we're fine. And we're not against that. As you grow, you do have to do that, but we want to make sure it's running efficiently. We're not just throwing money at problems. We're looking at like, what is our output? What does that look like? And I'm really proud. Like right now, we're completely carbon neutral, right? Even like beyond that, because we'll make sure that, hey, we're like, a lot of people don't realize it, but software companies, we're causing emissions to happen. There's servers, there's all types of things that people don't realize. So we kind of hide being like, oh, we're just on a computer, we're software. No, there's a data warehouse somewhere that's storing that. It's causing emissions. And we want to make sure that we're at the very least offsetting that. So Junaid makes sure that, hey, these guys are running smart and they're paying for what they're admitting into the world. Deidre Sheehan, AI ethics. She's like an AI machine herself. I don't know what she's made out of, but she is absolutely brilliant. And so we have some AI tools in Podmatch, but we want to make sure that it's ethical, because I do think that some AI out there these days is really passing an ethical line. And I have very high standards for that. And a lot of people are not going to agree with what I'm about to say, Max. So I'm sorry, but I'm going to say it anyway. But if you're responding to somebody and not reading the email, but giving it to AI and asking it to give you a response and sending it, that's unethical. In my mind, you're telling somebody, hey, you're not valuable enough for me to take the time to see what you had to say. So the computer is just going to do it for me and continue the response. Sadly, most emails I get today are not read by humans and they're not sent by humans. It's just robots. And so with Deidre, we want to make sure that, hey, yes, we have AI tools in here, but they cannot pass an ethical line of blurring communication, that human to human element. And the last person is Daryl Williams, free speech advisor. He's done his time in the White House. He has been an advocate for free speech for as long as he's been. I mean, he was military. He's done the whole 9 yards. And the whole thing is just to make sure that there is no way that Podmatch ever gets into the terms to blur the lines of what we're allowed to tell people that they're allowed to say, if that makes sense. That was very poorly worded. But basically, I don't get to tell Max what he's allowed to say or not allowed to say. We're protecting that creative freedom. We're protecting that freedom of speech. So everyone should be able to show up and share what they want. Now, granted, if there's something that the world would agree is really a terrible thing, we do reserve the right to remove someone from that type of thing. But again, Daryl's our guy. And if that ever happens, which we've never had to do that, we are going to go to him and say, hey, we're planning on removing this person. Here's why. Advise us. What should we do here? And so that's our board. And that's what those are things that hold us accountable to what we say we believe and how we want to show up in the world.
Right. So again, y'all, I'm talking with Alex Sanfilippo from Podmatch.com. The platform was built to match podcast hosts and guests together in an ideal manner using AI, but the main purpose is to help us, podcast hosts and guests, reach more people, make more money, and change more lives. So I hope y'all do check out Podmatch.com. And I'm glad I thought to ask that question. As you know, I don't plan most of my questions in advance. And I'm really happy you were comfortable enough to mention all these people. And now as the podcast host, I'm sitting here thinking, he just introduced me to 7 people I didn't really know as well as I do now. So now I've got 7 people who maybe should be guests on the podcast down the road. So I appreciate that.
I think that'd be a good idea, Max. They're great people.
I mean, it could be a series, the Podmatch Avengers.
Nice. I like it. You're on the group. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, we wouldn't even have to have a West Coast, because we's everywhere.
That's right.
So,
yeah.
All right. So before I run out of time, because I know that your calendar is much tighter than mine is. I don't want to get to the point where I forget something important. I've got 2 things I want you to talk about. One is what would you tell other entrepreneurs who say that there's no real reason why they should invest in accessibility for people with disabilities or inclusion in general?
Yeah, I just mentioned that the world we live in is changing a lot. And really this idea of human to human, which I think we were very much at the forefront of going back years. But that notion in software, specifically in entrepreneurship, however you're doing it, is becoming noticed and very important. The next generation, even although they spend a lot of time on their phones and they say words that most of us don't understand, right? I'm talking about this young upcoming generation. They actually care more about other people than almost any previous generation. I'm not going to call them selfless at this point, but we're realizing that causes matter to these individuals. And that's why you're seeing some big brands start to actually align with nonprofits more, and they get more vocal about it. Example, I saw a company the other day, they were selling alcohol, but part of their proceeds go to dog shelters. I'm like, that's cool. And younger generations, younger than me, they look at that and say, that's okay, it's really interesting. And the reason, the proof on this is this year, Podmatch was actually recognized by the Webby Awards, which is one of the most prestigious awards for companies online, for brands online. We had no business being part of that, even given our size, anything like that. What stood out is the fact that we really care about people. And so they said that we are creating in an ethical and futuristic way. And that stood out. So we got a nomination for that. And I think that is just such a cool thing. And I didn't know that was going to happen. So if somebody was like, hey, I'm a new entrepreneur, I can tell this isn't going to drive dollars immediately, therefore I need to focus on something else. I think the opposite might be true. Go against the grain. Do what someone else is not doing now so that you can have what they can't have later. I think it ends up paying off in the long run. For us, it was 9 months of really hard work that we thought would never turn into anything. We're in a far better place because of that. Far better place than I even could have imagined because of that.
Right. But most companies would not have taken the time to have the discussion and to find these things out. And, I talk a lot about how improving accessibility improves user experience, raises search engine rankings, and does open up the potential of a large market. But until today, I did not know that accessibility leads to better code, which leads to less time and effort in maintaining and updating code going forward, but that it also results in less energy spent, and that there are just a lot of things that accessibility can lead to that I was not aware of. And I really feel like you have done the disability community a great service, not just by what Podmatch does, but by making the case for all these other reasons why accessibility matters beyond the ones most of us talk about. So thank you for that. And I do agree with what you said about the young people, because I've had several conversations recently with how there are young people who are choosing to go to work for smaller companies, less prestigious companies, or even taking less money in order to work for companies that have a social mission.
Hmm. See, I mean, that right there, once again, it's just that's the proof that the world's changing and evolving, and this is a good way to get ahead of it. And it seems like a win-win situation, right? Like I think it's a good thing. And I'll mention one more thing about that code side that you mentioned you hadn't really thought about, Maxwell.
Yeah.
Sorry, Max. I'm gonna call you Max here. Sorry. I'm big on honoring the platform, but
Well, cool.
the
It makes you comfortable. Do it.
yeah, if you're working with a developer that's not your own, I remember at one point I was working a project back when I was in aerospace. They wanted to switch developers out. Well, the new guy came in. He's like, "There's no way I can do this without starting over. This guy didn't label anything. I don't know what anything is. It's all just guessing." I was like, "Oh, okay." So you're breeding really messy code if someone can't start labeling from day one, and they need to start labeling what things are, adding their own notes, adding their documentation. You can only do that by keeping it clean and organized. Starting off with accessibility from day one, getting someone like Max in your corner is going to pay off in the long run. It might have a little bit more upfront cost, maybe. I even question that because I would make sure you're telling people that you're working on it from that upfront. But the reality is, the long run of your code is going to be thankful as well, because it's going to be a lot cleaner, a lot easier for someone else to pick up and find the labels where you left off.
Right. I appreciate that. And I want to thank you, I think, for giving me the answer to a question that has puzzled me for several years now, even back before the recent denigration of DEIA, or diversity, equity, inclusion, accessibility, was my just head scratching about why companies uh, don't promote their efforts in improving accessibility. And now I know what they are. All your friends told you not to do it. So, but other than that, do you have any ideas why the companies that are doing the work are not putting themselves out there? Because as you know, one of the things I love to do besides help a company become more accessible is helping them promote their efforts in becoming more accessible.
Yeah, I think it's just it's fear of the unknown is what it comes down to. Like you
Yeah.
don't know any of it till you start, right? And so I think that a lot of people get scared that it's going to be more than it is, because the reality is, like, we were not just prepared to spend time, we were prepared to spend money, but it didn't cost nearly as much as we thought it was going to, like not even close. And the reality is, once we got things cleaned up and buttoned up from an accessibility standpoint, because of all the other things that helped improve, we actually were spending less money. So some people were scared of like the financial cost, possibly how much work it's going to be. It's just the unknown. At the end of the day, I love to say this, but courage means being afraid than doing what you have to do anyway. If you're the entrepreneur that you claim to be, you run the business you want to be able to run, like you've got to be able to grab the helm, take courage, and turn into that unknown. Often that's where the best things happen.
Yep. The adventures are out there in the open sea, not in the safe harbor.
Nice. That's great. Good follow up right there, Max. That was
Yeah. Yeah. So,
genius.
so I appreciate you being on the podcast. I also, even more so, you're being a friend and a mentor, and the first person who had the courage to be a client. All of that is speaks highly to your character. I also don't want to forget the fact that your wife Alicia is a special woman who helped me to be able to use Podmatch in the early days before the accessibility journey began. So happy to have you on the show. Again, y'all, he lives this. His goal is so that podcasters can make more money and change more lives. So do hope y'all will check out Alex at podmatch.com. I really hope that after hearing us have these conversations, you will decide to look into making your own products, services, or content more accessible. And if that's the case, I'm definitely available to help you with that. My website is theaccessibilityadvantage.com. You're more than welcome to send me an email directly to Maxwell at theaccessibilityadvantage.com. And there's a link right there on the homepage for you to schedule a short call. So let's get together on Zoom or the phone and start y'all's process to become the kind of entrepreneur that Alex is, and to receive the benefits, the many benefits, many of them I didn't even know about before today, from being accessible. So hope to talk to y'all soon. Hope you'll join me next time. But until then, please do what you can to stay safe out there. I'm Max Ivy, the blind blogger. Accessibility ain't just for those with disabilities. It makes the world better for everyone, online as well as in person.
Item chooser menu, 166 items. One item end stream button, end stream button, end the stream, and outro, set outro, not yet, end stream, but StreamYard.